This is 10 with Ken, a 10-minute interview series that's never 10 minutes. In this 10 with Ken special called Black Voices, I'll be speaking with prominent black leaders in Nevada to talk about who they are, their experiences as Americans and Republicans, and what matters most to them. In this first episode, I speak with my friend Sherman Ray, a lifelong Republican who has spent his life following his dreams in politics, business, community outreach, and most importantly, as a parent and grandparent. Enjoy. Sherman Ray, thank you so much for coming on and talking with me today. I'm a big fan of what you do, and I hope that the people that watch today will get to know you. Like I know you've been working in Nevada for a very long time, and we've been associates for many years. And so what I want to do today is I want people to get to know you. I want to talk about what you've done, what you're doing right now, and then I want to talk about the Republican Party. As I told you before we got on, I'm kind of doing a kind of profiles and just like kind of talking to some prominent black conservatives and black Republicans here in Nevada, and so it's our time to get your perspective. So I'm glad to have you.
Well, thanks, Ken. I appreciate you having me on the show today. Looking forward to the discussion.
Very cool. So I want to start out. So, like I said, most of our inner group of the dedicated Clark County Republican Party, now there's two, all of us just, I think we all kind of know each other, but for people that don't know you, tell me about you, tell me about your family, where you're from, just kind of give me a personal intro to Sherman Ray.
Sure. Well, thanks once again, Ken, for having me on the show. I grew up here in Las Vegas, so I've been here in Las Vegas since the early 60s. And when I first got here to Vegas, there were about 100 and some odd thousand people here. There were about 4 high schools when I first got here. And when I graduated, there were about 8 high schools. When I graduated from high school, went to UNLV for a few years. And literally by the time I got out of high school, I already knew what political party I wanted to be in. And the reason why is because when I was a sophomore in high school, when we all got our driver's license, Jimmy Carter was the president. And if you remember Jimmy Carter, and most people, at least of my age, remember Jimmy Carter, I profoundly remember Jimmy Carter because I just started driving a car, and I think you probably know where I'm going. That's when we had the gas shortages. I had this brand new, or I had a used 66 Mustang ready to drive.
Oh my gosh.
I paid $100 for this car and I was ready to drive my car. Jimmy Carter's in office. We can't get gas for cars. I knew then and there that I would never be a Democrat because of Jimmy Carter. So, and it was just a visceral response to anything that could promote those kind of policies, because by the time Reagan got in office, things had just miraculously had changed, and we were fine again. Yeah. My first voting came when I first voted was Ronald Reagan, so I'm a Reagan baby, and I've always because I was a product of a Jamaican household. And it's and there's some differences between Jamaican households and American households. Jamaican households tend to have more of a business kind of forward sensibility. And my little Jamaican mom was, I can credit her with that. I've always wanted to own my own business. And I know we'll talk about that a little bit later, but always wanted to open my own business. Always wanted to be, the guy, always wanted to be the leader, always wanted to stick out, that kind of thing. And which leads me to starting my own company later in life. And now I'm a dad. I'm a grandpa. Got 10 grandkids now.
You have 10 grandkids?
Yeah, that's what happens when you have 3 daughters.
Oh my gosh!
3
no
daughters
way.
Have babies, and when they have babies, they all kind of say, "Hey, if you got one, I'm gonna have one.
I'm gonna have one too." How funny!
And so they all had 4 kids. They all had all my kids have had children, and now I have 10 grandchildren. One who's just graduated high school, the other one who's a senior in high school. My oldest grandchildren, proud grandpa, proud Republican, active in the Republican Party, that kind of stuff. So
That's so cool. And Sherman, what a time to grow up as an 18-year-old, as coming out of high school during the Jimmy Carter years, right? I mean, that's the golden years. I just feel like we're in that same moment, Sherman. Like I feel
yeah,
like the Biden administration it has just been crisis after crisis. It's been mismanagement after mismanagement. And I feel like, those Jimmy Carter years were a prime time for you to see that contrast, right? I mean, then to see Reagan.
a lot of my friends right now, excuse me, I'm still friends with them on Facebook, that kind of thing. I only have a very few friends who I graduated with who are not Republicans.
Oh my
Now on,
gosh.
because I'm just when you happen to say it, I think that's the reason why. Is
Yeah.
because we remember back in high school the way things are. We've watched history now, and we're all just kind of I don't know. We're all on the same page with this. So I can look on any one of my Facebook friends' names or their pages, who are my high school friends. They're probably echoing the same thing I am
Yep.
saying now, and I didn't even have to say anything to them.
So where did you come from, or what year did you move here, or not what year, but how old were you when you moved here, and where'd you come from before that? Did you come directly from Jamaica or just somewhere else in the United
No,
States?
no, so we moved here when I was about 2 years old, a year old. So yeah, I grew up here, Vegas. So I was originally born in the East Coast. So I was New Jersey, um, but all my family's from Jamaica. So brothers, the mom, that kind of thing. So all
Wow.
my family's still back in Jamaica or in New York or something like that.
Yeah.
Florida. Yeah.
And so yeah, so you came from like the old Vegas times where, my parents are the same way. Parents are exactly like you. They,
Mhm.
graduated when there was, 10 high schools, Clark and Rancho and all that kind of stuff. So
Sure.
I mean, you're as native Las Vegas as we can count. I mean, honestly, like it's
Yeah.
after about 10 years you're grandfathered. So that's
Yeah,
awesome.
I know. Well, and we're living in history right now because we have a frame of reference. When I buy property or when I buy anything, I look back at the way it used to be, and I'm going, "Wow, can you?" I remember when the end of town was here and here, and now it's like So yeah, things have changed dramatically.
It is, and it's a beautiful city. It's a wonderful place to live.
Mhm.
And it's changed a lot. And I think my next question is, along your time here, you said you started a business. Can you tell us about the business? I know you had Avery's Coffee, but I don't know if that was your first business. Can you tell us about starting those businesses and what you're doing now, especially?
Sure. Yeah. Actually, my first business was in design. So we had a wallpaper store, and this was back in '84. So it was about 84, 85, something like that. Um, Avery's Coffee. We ran that for about 7 years. So it was a coffee shop. We did roasting. After at the end of 2019, literally the business had plateaued, and my wife and I said, "Look, we probably need to make a decision on this because really everything had plateaued." December 31st was the last day we had Avery's Coffee opened up, which was fortuitous
Yeah.
because literally a couple of weeks later, they shut down the whole state.
Oh
And
my
I had already
gosh.
started the Black Business Chamber of Commerce
Hmm.
January 1. So I was mentoring business owners, which was pretty interesting. And so the Black Business Chamber of Commerce is still running. So we still have that running. I'm not the chairman of it anymore. I've passed that on to the next group of folks. But now I've started S. Ray Media Group LLC. So S. Ray Media, or Lovin' and Living in Vegas, it's a marketing company. I've been in marketing forever, so I figured, you know what, I might as well, make it something formal. So that's what I'm doing now.
That's so incredible. And it's cool that you can still be creative. Oops, you can still be creative, in what you're doing, and I
Mhm.
love that. And I'll get a link, just so I'll put a link in the description of SRA, and we can show what you're doing now.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Now it wasn't last election, but maybe a couple elections ago you ran for office. What did you run for?
Mhm.
Obviously didn't win, but what did you learn about it and what'd you do?
Sure. 2019, ran for city council, Las Vegas City Council in Ward 1. Came up short, learned a lot because we literally had started that campaign. Excuse me. Probably started that campaign in 2017. Is when we actually
Hmm.
started it.
Wow.
And I had already been working with the Trump campaign. I've been working with a lot of other campaigns, and we were helping other people who were running for 2016, knowing I was going to run in 2019. So we were really setting ourselves up for 2019. It was a disappointment when I lost in 2019, but I learned so much about the political process, about what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what does work, what doesn't work. And I still use those principles to this day.
Can you tell us about maybe some interactions with voters during that time? Did they, I know it's a nonpartisan race, but what did
Mhm.
you learn politically from the people that you talked to during that race that was, beneficial to you? What did you learn?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things I learned is there's no such thing as a nonpartisan race because because people know who you are. They know.
Yes. Yes.
I would go to doors and people, there are some people, not a lot, but there are some people who are pretty savvy. They will look you up before you come to their door because they know you're going to be there. Because when you're running, you get kind of profiles on a lot of people that you're going to go to the doors on.
Right.
You'll go to those doors, and those people will go, I've already been to your website. I know who you are. I know where you came from. And especially as a Black Republican, not going out and telling everybody I'm a Republican, because like you said, it's a nonpartisan race, so you don't have that on your signs. But people, Black voters will say, you know what? I know who you are. I'm going to vote for you, and get this, anyways. And you learn a lot about people because some people will really check you out. A lot of people, though, which I was kind of disappointed in, had no idea that the election even was occurring. Which is very just because Ward 1 is not a huge area, but it's a very important area, and people really should be more in tune, especially in
Mhm.
Ward 1 and where I live at, and I continue to live here. But a lot of people had no idea there was even an election going on, had no idea what the issues were, and those things affect them. So that was important. I think there's an insight that I took out of there.
No, especially in those races, and I know you know this, but I mean, it's difficult for me because obviously we care so much about who's the president of the United States, and then people will have absolutely no clue whether they're in the county, whether they're in the city. They'll have no idea who their mayor is. Maybe they'll know mayor because it's flashy and it's Vegas, but like they will have absolutely no clue who their county commissioner, city council is. And
No.
those are the ones that have such a huge impact in
Yes.
your life, and in your business and zoning and stuff like that. So I mean, I'm sure that was frustrating
Oh
to
yeah.
talk
And
to them about.
and when I was because I already had started my coffee shop, so I already had the restaurant going at the time. I would get to sit down and talk to business owners, and I would get to kind of give them more insight on what's going on because now they knew I was running. I knew a little bit more, and so they were coming to me, more often than not to get some kind of insight on what's going on. That's They understood that there were things that were going to affect them that a city councilman could affect. Matter of fact, I got to know because my business was not in Ward 1; it was in Ward 2.
Mhm.
I got to know Bob Beers because he was the first elected official I got to know as a business owner. And then the guy who came after him, Victoria Seaman, after that, and all these people were my personal friends because I understood as a business owner I need to know these guys because there might be things that they can do for me or help me as a business owner, and they were happy to do it because
Yeah,
that's their job. So
yeah.
especially Bob Beers. Bob Beers is a great guy.
He's salt of the earth. He's did so much good, and still here, on Facebook all day trying to tell people, fighting
Mhm.
for the Republican cause. So I
Yeah,
love that.
sure. Yeah.
Um, and it's wonderful. I'm glad you were able to. I love the anyway. Of like talking to Black voters, whether the Democrat, Independent, Republicans, they're like, well, I'll vote for you anyway. I love that, and I feel like I just have this theory, and I want to ask you your thoughts on it. Of like, obviously, it's not all about race,
Mhm.
but when you speak to someone, right, when you're speaking to a voter and they see it coming from you,
Mhm.
um, I feel like that matters. And I have like sort of a theory that like, obviously we don't need to, I'm not talking about racial, quotas, but like having those diverse voices, I just feel like they're going to listen to you more, especially just the Republican brand sometimes can be, people believe a lot of terrible things, sometimes true, sometimes not about Republicans. Like, did that matter? Did that matter? Do we need more of those diverse voices? Is that diversity important when we're running slates of candidates?
I would say yes. Just because, and even just in business practice, it makes sense that you want to have a diverse background, because if not, you're in an echo chamber. You really only see what you see, and you really can't be held accountable for that, because that's all you know. I still go to a local area church, and they wanted me to be a board member of the church. And so they said, Sherman, we hear you actually have some issues with black or white. I said, well, I have no issues of black or white. I mean, my wife's white. And I said, my issue is that you as a leader, and I was talking to the leadership of the church, I said, you tended to hire people who look like you. You're not racist. You just tend to hire people who and you tend to surround yourself with people who look like you, but your church doesn't look like you, because your church is a multicultural, it's a melting pot. It's a wonderful church.
Yeah.
I said, you need to continue to bring people up who don't look like you, because that really helps people like me become the leaders that make the body strong. I think the Republican Party only benefits by having a diverse background. And we're not talking about quotas, because you don't have to have quotas. All you have to do is expand your reach. Yes. I was a consultant for one of the largest construction companies in the Valley. They brought me in for one reason. They wanted to hear a different viewpoint, and they wanted to know why a different viewpoint needed to be heard. And when they heard that, they went, "Oh my gosh, we never thought about it that way. We didn't know."
Yes.
And I went, yeah. You know, I was an electrician for 15 years. I was experienced. I knew exactly what I was doing. But if I ever came to a block in the road, I would call an apprentice. And the reason why, an apprentice isn't that smart. You know what I mean? An apprentice is going to look at something with new eyes.
Yes.
And he's going to go, why don't you just touch that right there? Why don't you just put, and we go, oh, he's brilliant. We would take the credit, of course, but, but we bring that apprentice in there, and that's the same thing. Politics, business, it all works the same way. Fresh set of eyes, a different perspective, and it only makes you stronger.
No, I completely agree with that. I think that's poetic, but it's simple. It's like you said, it's, an apprentice's view. It's like, well, having those different eyes, on a certain subject, like you said, oh my gosh, what a great way to think about it, and I think that goes for a lot of groups in the Republican Party, right? I mean, I feel like we're at a crossroads where we do have a lot of new voices that have come into the party thanks to President Trump, and whether it's Hispanic voices, it's young voices, it's also new voters too. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people that cross all of those age and racial boundaries, but they're kind of brand new voters, and their perspectives are so important, I think, as we're kind of rebuilding post the loss in 2020 of just these new people to come in and say, do you guys realize, you and I, Sherman, have been doing this for so damn long, I mean, I'm younger than you, but I've been, going to those county Republican meetings since I was 18. We've just been in that world so long that having those new voters and having those new voices is such a benefit, and helping them see that. And especially when it comes to, like, Hispanic and Black voters here in Nevada, and Asian voters as well. I just feel like we need that so much. I feel like we need a lot of new voices, and just to flood the zone with, new voters and new voices that come from different cultural backgrounds, to just, look at it differently. Like you said, I think that's such a great way to say that. And I love that apprentice, allegory.
I'll tell you, you need an apprentice. You need the new guys. Always need the new guys.
Yeah, absolutely. If you, Sherman, we're in charge of outreach for the party, I want to know, what do you think we need to do, as a party, speaking generally, but let's focus on Nevada. Let's say, what do we need to do to win those new voters? You got a Hispanic family a family of four. They just crossed the border from California. They're moved in. They've got a job there. I'm talking, your perfect, sort of depiction of a middle class new family that's not really political. Let's say, the kids go to public school, or make that family, a Hispanic family, a Black family, an Asian family, whatever they are.
Mm-hmm.
How do we win them? What do you think, as someone who, has, a bunch of grandkids and a bunch of kids that are in the community, maybe they're political, maybe not. How do we win them, in your opinion, and what works from your city council race, from a business standpoint? What do we do to win those new voters?
Sure. I think it's really very simple. Treat them like family. And because I tend to think what happens, or I'll give you the answer and then I'll kind of give my observation. People need to feel welcomed. So if you just reach out to them, like we have precinct captains, bringing back the old precinct captain who will actually go to your door and say, "Hey, guess what? Would you like to come over for a beer? Okay, or would you like to come over for a potluck or whatever?" But you welcome them to the neighborhood. Show them that they're family, because really people just want to have friends. We started a group called Patriots and Cocktails, and what Patriots and Cocktails does is it's not a political. I mean, we're all political, but we purposefully do not politicize the group, because we want to know the person. I mean, Democrats are brilliant in one thing that they do, is they've created a church-like organization so that their people babysit each other. They know where they live. They know where they work. They do all this other stuff. And when people get together, that builds a bond between people that is not going to break. You're not going to break that very easily, because now you have a family. You know what I mean? I know your kids. Your kids know me.
Yeah.
You've been to my house. We love each other. We like each other. As opposed to what we have right now. What we have right now, and I spoke to a few chairmans ago, and I said, look, what has happened over the years as the Clark County Republican Party has created a bunch of beta fish. Because every time you come together, you just go, and you just
it's fighting. Yeah. Yes.
Oh. And I said, that's why it's miserable when you go to these meetings. Everybody knows they're going to get pissed off. They know there's a couple of people that are going to be pissed off. They're going to be fighting, and you can't get anything done. And I said, why don't you do this? Why don't you just invite everybody for cocktails? And he goes, what? I go, yes, people want to know you. They don't care about your politics. They want to know that you actually care about them. And then they'll open up to you. That's when we started Patriots and Cocktails. It was just a way of getting people to smoke a cigar together. We probably had a couple of hundred people at our first one. We still have them to this day, where people just get together and they enjoy each other, and we get to know each other. So I think that's one of those things that we could probably practice a lot more. It doesn't have to be at a bar or whatever, but it really needs to happen so that you have a holistic way of speaking with people. Because if people don't know that you like them, that you care about them, they're going to tend to look at you with that side eye. And and when you meet with them, it really doesn't take much to get them pissed off. So yeah,
right. I love you said the word church, and and I think the church word is fellowship, right? I mean, I feel like or you were just about to say it, the you don't care what you know until you know how much they care, or whatever, and I love that. I think, especially, as we're going into, hopefully when we decide what our Clark County Republican Party looks like, is to go into these new communities, Black communities, Hispanic communities, young communities. Let's go to schools, go to UNLV, whatever, is to build that fellowship with them, so that they know, that we're people behind the brand, right? If I feel like we try so hard to push the brand on people before helping them see who we are, behind the brand. I really like that philosophy, and I hope we can adopt that as we come closer.
I hope so too, because there's been so many people have been alienated because they're not Republican enough, right?
That's right.
Or and it's just like, and I know the church analogy, people probably noticed there was actually kind of a church theme here, but the Lord was really funny because he knew people. He said, if I put too many rules, too many regulations, I do all this other stuff, they're never going to make it. All he said was, do one thing, accept me. I'll do
Mm-hmm.
the rest. I'll just do the rest. Just accept me, and I will, and you're in, you're good to go. Republicans are the same way. Republicans need to understand that whether you're a little Republican or a lot Republican, whether you're, a Rand Paul or you're a Phil Schlafly, you are still a Republican. And we can bicker over, side issues or something like that. But for all intent and purposes, you are a Republican. Let's work together. Let's not beat each other up.
Absolutely. I think, and I feel like the media, and I'm not talking about like, you know, conservative media, but like the media in general, and just the way people talk about politics right now, that they don't have this mentality that, it's bled into the movement a little bit, but it's a symptom of what's going on in America right now, that you're either, you're not, like you said, you're not Republican enough, you're not American enough, you're not, whatever. But the truth behind it really is you all really are, and people are trying to, cut people off, and, get their perfect little inner circle of people that, think exactly like them. That's not the purpose of a political party. It's
No.
purpose is to get as many of us as possible, right? As many R's as possible. They might be pink, lightly conservative. They might be maroon red,
Yes.
dark, dark red conservative, but we're all kind of supposed to be,
Sure.
we'll feel the nuances later. You know what I mean? We'll figure out what bills to pursue when we're in power, kind of thing. I've always liked that. And it's just difficult for me, because if we as Republicans can't do that with ourselves, how are we going to do that with new communities? So, if we're reaching out to more Hispanics and more Black voters, more Asian voters, and they come here and see us. No, and it's not that we have to be unified. It's such a difficult word right now. I don't want us to be unified. I want us to be aligned a little bit, maybe
Sure.
just agreeing a little bit, not unified. But if they come in and see us at war, I don't think they want to be a part of that war. I think you're right. I think they look at that and they go, oh,
no. I think you're watching right now, Cinema, Kirsten Cinema right now, and her and Joe Manchin are going through what I see happening with the Republican Party a lot, where you don't agree with me on this vote or something like that, and now I'm going to follow you into the bathroom.
Yeah.
It's like, and then you hear people going, "Wow, do I really want to be a Democrat if I get that? Because if so, I'm not being a part of that." And unfortunately, I've seen a little bit of that in our own party, and it's not pretty. I mean, it really isn't. Right now, and you alluded to it earlier, is that we're kind of going through some phases on the leadership here at the county level. And a lot of people are just kind of backing away. They're going, look, I'll wait till the dust clears, because I really don't want to be a part of whatever they're doing. I'm a Republican. I'll vote on my own. And unfortunately, that is not, that does nobody any good. I mean, at all. When you see that kind of infighting, that becomes public. And that's the problem.
Yeah, and infighting, I'm comfortable with infighting. I think infighting, it's
Sure.
like a primary, right? We're
Sure.
okay to infight, but we have to keep it behind the closed doors.
Keep it behind the
doors. Yeah, that's right. We'll keep it by the doors, and when the doors open, we go, hey, we're all happy, friendly Republican, because that's what Democrats do. And I had somebody come to me the other day, because the state Democratic Party is going through the Bernie versus Biden kind of liberal, or farther left progressives, or mainstream Democrats. And they're like, oh, see, they're going through this right now. I'm like, at the end of the day, they're all going to be on board. It'll take some time. They'll do their little infightings, but they're going to probably at the end of the day go like this and unite forward.
Yeah.
And I'm worried about us doing that. I just don't know if we're going to do that. So hopefully we can get to that point where everybody kind of just comes a little closer together, and we'll see what ends up happening. But Sherman, I appreciate your perspective and your opinion, and I appreciate your advocacy, running for office, just being an upstanding citizen here in Nevada. And so hopefully maybe we can check in a little bit later, and tell me about what is the number one project you want to leave with people who watch this? What do you want them to go visit? What do you want them to go see? Do you have a Patriot cocktails coming up? What do you want to leave with people who are watching?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we do the 21st of this month. So the third Thursday of every month, we have a Patriots and Cocktails event. It's at the Sporting Life Bar at 4570 West Sahara, which is a great place to hang out at. So right now we're going into the political season, which is big. So we're going to start having more and more candidates there. Generally start about 6 o'clock. And so if you want to come out from 6 to about 9 o'clock, have a drink, we'll, talk a little bit of politics. But more importantly, I want to get to know you. So don't be surprised if I walk up to you, put an arm around your shoulder and say, hey, who are you? Who are your kids? So I think that's really important as we get to know each other.
That's awesome. I love it. I'd love to come to one of those and just come and say hi. And, I don't drink, but I'll have a Sprite or something like that and just hang out. The last question I have for you, and I kind of ask this of everybody, but tell me what are you reading or consuming media wise right now? Are you watching a show? Are you reading a book? What is your obsession right now, media wise, that you can't let go of, can't stop or can't put down?
Oh gosh, you know what? It's probably more of people than it is of a book, because I'm always consuming marketing books. So I was into John Maxwell for about 15 years. Kind of moved over to coffee and doing coffee stuff for a number of years. Now I'm into marketing, but more I'm into my kids and watching them grow up, because really I'm especially during this whole COVID thing, I've watched them really kind of suffer through this whole thing. They won't say it, but as a parent and as a grandparent now, I'm watching them kind of deal with the effects of it. They really need it. I mean, they really need it because they're dealing with a lot of stuff. I've got like I said earlier, I've got a senior who's in high school right now. He's playing football. He's a quarterback, and he's dealing with this stuff. Even when they lose, though, as long as he can turn around, he can see he's got a rooting section. I'll tell you, that does something for him. Oh. My granddaughter is the same way. She's about 14 years of age, really kind of a reclusive kind of child. But I get to drive her to school every day. Imagine this, 14-year-old girl, I get to drive her to school. I volunteer to do this because it's our time together. And I've been doing this for a couple of years now, where I get to pour into her life. She doesn't realize it yet, but I get to pour into her life. Those 10, 15 minutes, I get to talk to her, find out what her life is like. And she went to a homecoming dance this weekend, which surprised everybody, because she's realized that she had not been making friends.
Wow.
And so that just got my heart going, because I feel like we've done something with this child, because she was really reclusive, didn't want any friends. Now she's going, you know what? I need friends. I need people. And this is cool. So I think I'm more into my family now more than anything. And it's a good thing. It's fun.
Those grandpa duties. That's awesome. I would not wish upon my worst enemy to have a kid at school age during this pandemic, and how the governments have closed the schools, not being able to go to the movies with your friends. I would not wish. I got a little 2-year-old, or he's almost 3. We are inoculated from the pandemic with him. He's been able to go see his grandma and his a couple of cousins. I cannot imagine what those kids have gone through to not go to school for a year, to not go see the friends, sporting events for that senior. I cannot imagine. So I totally believe you that things are rough for them, and I bet they love that grandpa time. So.
Well, at least if they don't, they haven't said anything. So
no complaints yet. So
yeah.
Sherman, thank you so much for your time. What I'll do is I'll put a link to S-Ray Media Group. I'll put a link to Patriots and Cocktails so people can see it. Send me a flyer. I'll post it, right around the time we post this. And just thanks for all you do, and thanks for being an upstanding Nevadan and giving me some time today.
You're welcome, Ken. Thank you for having me on the show. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Sherman Ray. Talk to you soon.